In the heat of the American Civil War, on a narrow strip of land surrounded by treacherous waters, a battle unfolded that would forever change the course of history. It was a battle not just of strategy, but of courage and sacrifice, where heroes were forged in the fires of war. This is the story of the Second Battle of Fort Wagner, a tale of blood, valor, and an undying spirit that echoed across the nation. But what really happened on that fateful July night in 1863? And how did this battle, though a tactical defeat, become a turning point in the war? Let's uncover the secrets of Fort Wagner. Fort Wagner. Fort Wagner, also known as Battery Wagner, stood as a formidable Confederate stronghold, guarding the southern approaches to Charleston Harbor. Commanded by Brigadier General William B. Taliaferro, the fort was a critical defense point, its sandy walls reinforced with heavy artillery. Any Union force attempting to take Charleston had to first capture this island fortress. The stakes were high, and the Union Army, under Brigadier General Quincy Gilmore, was determined to break through. The first assault. Just a week before the infamous second assault, the Union forces had already tested Fort Wagner's defenses. On July 11, 1863, they launched a brutal attack, but the Confederate defenders, well prepared and deeply entrenched, repelled the assault with devastating effectiveness. The Union suffered heavy losses, and the fort remained in Confederate hands. But General Gilmore was not one to give up easily. Preparation for the second assault. Undeterred by the first failure, General Gilmore devised a new plan. On July 18, 1863, he ordered an intense artillery bombardment on Fort Wagner, hoping to weaken its defenses. For 8 long hours, the Union forces rained fire upon the fort, aided by naval gunfire from 6 monitors. But as the smoke cleared, it became evident that the fort's sandy walls had absorbed much of the impact. The Confederates had taken cover in bomb-proof shelters, suffering minimal casualties. Despite this, the order was given. The assault would proceed at dusk. The 54th Massachusetts. At the forefront of the Union assault was the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment, one of the first African-American units in the Union Army, led by the young and courageous Colonel Robert Gould Shaw. This regiment carried not just the weight of the battle, but the hopes of a people yearning for freedom. As they marched towards Fort Wagner, they knew the odds were against them, but their resolve was unshakable. The assault. At 7:45 p.m., as the sun dipped below the horizon, the 54th Massachusetts led the charge. The narrow strip of beach, just 60 yards wide, funneled the Union troops into a deadly gauntlet. As they approached within 150 yards of the fort, Confederate cannons and rifles unleashed a torrent of fire. Men fell by the dozens, but the 54th pressed on, their ranks thinning with every step. Finally, they reached the fort's parapet, engaging in fierce hand-to-hand combat with the Confederate defenders. The night was filled with the sounds of clashing steel, the cries of the wounded, and the relentless roar of gunfire. Valor and sacrifice. Colonel Shaw was among the first to fall, struck down on the parapet, his body pierced by multiple bullets. Despite the loss of their leader, the men of the 54th fought on with unimaginable bravery. Sergeant William Kearny, though severely wounded, saw the Union flag in danger and, with incredible courage, he retrieved it, never allowing it to touch the ground. For his actions, Kearny would become the first African American to be awarded the Medal of Honor. The aftermath. By 10 p.m., the battle was over. The Union assault had failed, with over 1,500 soldiers killed, captured, or wounded. The 54th Massachusetts alone lost nearly half of its men, including Colonel Shaw. The Confederate defenders, though victorious, suffered their own losses and were reinforced just in time to prevent a Union breakthrough. The fort held, but at a terrible cost, changing the course of the war. Though the Second Battle of Fort Wagner was a Confederate victory, the valor displayed by the 54th Massachusetts resonated throughout the Union. Their courage under fire shattered prejudices and proved that African American soldiers could fight with the same tenacity and skill as their white counterparts. This inspired a surge in African American enlistment, bolstering the Union's ranks and shifting the tide of the war. The battle also influenced President Lincoln's policies on prisoner exchanges, leading to General Order 252, which had a profound impact on the treatment of captured soldiers. The unyielding spirit of Fort Wagner. The Second Battle of Fort Wagner is remembered not just as a military engagement, but as a symbol of the unyielding spirit of those who fought for freedom and justice. The sacrifice of the 54th Massachusetts and the many others who stood with them that night paved the way for a new era in American history, one where the ideals of liberty and equality would be upheld by all who wore the uniform. Though Fort Wagner eventually fell to Union forces, its legacy endures. The story of the Second Battle of Fort Wagner is a powerful reminder of the sacrifices made by those who came before us. As we reflect on their bravery, let us continue to honor their memory by learning their stories and sharing them with future generations. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more historical content that brings the past to life.